Finding yourself the prey in the talons of an owl on a dark night is a gruesome affair. The owl will rip you to pieces or eat you whole. Then it will digest you later to spit up a compacted pellet of what was your fur and bones. Then the owl kicks back, rolls itself a cigarette, and smokes it while listening to the wolves howl. This is the smoking owl. This story took place my sophomore year of high school. I was a 15-year-old girl, young for my grade. It was a Wednesday in the wintertime. I had joined the honor society at my school. Besides meeting and talking about how to help the community, we also had to meet at 7:20 a.m., which was about 25 minutes before school. Since I wasn't a morning person, missing more time to sleep was always frustrating. That's why I was always late. On this day, I was running late. Being 15, I couldn't drive myself to school, so I had to have my grandma, who lives with my mother and I, take me to school, since at this time my mother would be in the bathroom putting on makeup before work. My grandma opened the garage with a button on the garage wall. Both my grandma and I got into the car, which was parked in the garage, of course. Once closing the door, she would pull out into the driveway. Now, she looked back towards the front windshield to pull out to the right towards the street on our cul-de-sac. And I screamed to stop, and she quickly slammed on the brakes. There was a man about 6 feet tall. He had dirty blonde-looking hair and was wearing all black. He was only illuminated by the headlights since on winter mornings it was pitch dark and today it was raining. I noticed something in his hand. Being the observant person I was, I thought I saw a black handle. The man didn't look at us, explain himself, or wave a hand to say sorry. He just stopped in front of the lights for about 3 seconds before continuing to walk through our yard towards our neighbor's house. We watched him disappear into the dark. Now, I live in a neighborhood where we all know each other and watch out for each other. We all own about 1 acre of yard. Recently, my neighbors have been having work done around their houses, like taking down some trees and fixing up their house. So my grandma, with her heart of gold, continued driving as we discussed what just happened. She assumed that he was just a worker. I knew he wasn't. I told her I thought he had had a knife, and she brushed it off, saying, maybe it was a worker holding a dustpan or a shovel. He could have just been using our yard as a shortcut. But no, something told me I had to warn my mother, who was still at home inside the house. So I began to text my mother, but no texts were sending. Nothing was going through. I texted, "Lock the door." But when it went through, she didn't understand it. She replied and questioned me, saying, "What? Why?" At this point, I called her quickly, explaining the situation and yelling at her to lock the door. She did. And right after she bolted the door, not a second later, he opened the screen door and tried to open the door handle of the door which had just been locked. When he realized that the door was locked, he tried to kick it down. My mother hung up on me and she called the police. I don't know how quickly the police arrived, but we live in a small town, so I assume the response time was fast. When the police arrived, she told them what happened and they wrote up a report. Later that morning, the man was found a couple roads down. He tried to get into some other houses too. When he ended up getting into a house, a man had chased him out with a shotgun. He was caught and arrested, and they found that he had been carrying a large butcher knife. Although this isn't an extreme story, it always holds a lot of what ifs. What if I hadn't been late? What if I hadn't gotten a hold of my mother? And the biggest one of all, what if I wasn't late and my grandma would have asked him if he needed help? I'm now a junior in high school and it's been about a year, but the effects of this encounter still haunt me. I'm afraid to be alone. I will double check or even triple check locks and listen intently to the sounds of my house when trying to go to sleep. If I hear something, I'll try to go check it out. He's made me paranoid, but I guess my fears are rational. Who expects their own home to be the site of a creepy encounter?